What's up, everybody? This is Jay, and this video is about The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, episode 1. This is my review and recap of The Last Dance. Now, this is a Michael Jordan led and based documentary. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that bell and join the family. And if you enjoy this documentary and how I review and recap, hit that like, refer it to others, and let's get into it now. The Last Dance is really good. I mean, it is Michael Jordan project and it's his perspective. So, of course, it's, you know, how he feels about things. And it's understandable that, of course, some people may not agree with how he feels about things. But besides all of that, it's on ESPN. It's a 10-part series, and it is, if you're a sports fan, phenomenal. And especially if you lived during this period and you remember it, the nostalgia, the memories, and everything that comes back is just great. And then it also has behind the scenes information and things that we didn't know that it does reveal. Now, the reason that this is titled The Last Dance is because it follows the Bulls during the 1998 season. The 1998 season was Michael Jordan's final year with the Chicago Bulls. It also was his last championship, which was his sixth. It was the second of his three-peats. He had two three-peats. One was 91, 92, 93. He retired 94. He came back for 18 games in 95. And then when he had the first full season in 96, the Bulls went 72-10, which is a record NBA at the time for the best wins. It's an 82-game season. They only lost 10 games and they won the championship. Golden State Warriors recently had a better record. They went 73-9. They only did one game better, but they lost in the championships to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nevertheless, the Bulls, they won the championship, and in 97 and 98 as well. So, The Last Dance, the reason why it was titled that, because Phil Jackson, as a coach, the Zen master, philosophizer that he was, when the season was getting ready to begin, he didn't have a contract, and it didn't seem like he was coming back that year for the Bulls. And they kind of document this and that in the first episode. And so him and Jerry Krause were at odds. Things weren't working out. And then it took a meeting with just him and Jerry Reinsdorf to get that deal done. But after that deal was done, Jerry Krause told him to his face, it doesn't matter if you go 82-0, meaning you win everything, you will not be the coach next year. And so with Phil Jackson knowing that, then he pretty much knew that this was it. This was their last shot. And so every year they said that he titled their season, gave it a theme. And so the theme for this one was The Last Dance. And when he gave them the playbook that was on it and different things, and the most unique thing that he did for The Last Dance for this season was he allowed a camera crew to follow the team the whole year. And so it's a lot of behind the scenes footage and information and things that you normally wouldn't see. Now, the one thing that is unique about this is that it's not really about only that last season. It's a 10-part documentary, and it pretty much covers Michael Jordan's entire career. And it just flashback to the final season a little bit in this episode. And so in this episode, it pretty much covered Michael Jordan's upbringing and what he went through in college and how he became so competitive and everything that that made him himself. And so what happened is it documents how he got to the Bulls, and he talks about what his experiences was like, when he was a kid. And for those that don't know, I'm from Chicago, so watching this brings back a lot of memories from me as a kid. His career kind of parallels a lot with me growing up in the world, pretty much. He started out in the year 1984, and I was born in 78, so I was 6 years old. By that time, people were wearing Jordans and everything, and I remember that my first pair of Jordans I worked hard to get, and had my father take me all around town to get, and that was the Jordan 3s. And people used to rob people for Jordans back in the day and do things like that. I mean, it was really crazy and a hectic time, but everybody just was so like infatuated with Michael Jordan. He was like a star, larger than life during that time. Everybody wanted to shoot like Jordan, play like Jordan. I mean, it was just a great time. And with the dunk contest and everything, I mean, he changed the whole city. And they actually kind of touch on that in the documentary, that a country boy came to the big city and made it better. And it's really true. I mean, a lot of people, the whole city, Chicago was a football city. Bears all the way. And Michael Jordan changed that. And it's still kind of a bear city now, but for that Jordan time period and for a brief time after it, um, it was all Bulls. And Derrick Rose kind of brought that back into the city for a while, but it was never anything like that Jordan time period. And at one point when I was a kid, I wanted to be a football player and do things, but I was inspired around, 1990 to play basketball, because that's around the time myself when I started to really become aware of the NBA and everything. And Michael Jordan, I knew who he was, I knew the shoes, knew what he did, but I didn't really get into the sport. But around 1990, collecting baseball, basketball cards, I started paying attention more to the sport, trying to play it more with my friends, trying to play it more organized. And then I realized what they were going through, accomplished, and had to do. And then that's when they went through Detroit, the 7-game series. And a lot of people know that as the migraine game, because Scottie Pippen had a migraine and was really unable to perform that game. And so a lot of people felt the Bulls was having a hard time with Detroit, and maybe they wouldn't get him, or maybe if Scottie Pippen had it together, they would get Detroit. And so that was my first experience, and I knew we were so close, because if we would have beat Detroit, we would have went to the championship. So the very next year, and I'm a full-blooded fan of the NBA and sports by this time, it's 1991. The Bulls win the championship. I'm in about 7th grade at the time. The whole city's going crazy. It's just amazing. And so the first 3 Bulls championships, I was still pretty much a kid. I was in 7th, 8th, and freshman year in high school. And so it was kind of different to me. But when the Bulls won their second three-peat, I was grown. For the most part, I was out of high school, and so I was 18, 19, 20, and so I was able to enjoy it differently than when I was in 7th and 8th grade. So watching all of this, it brings back a lot of memories. It sees a lot of things, and it's just really a good documentary. And then one thing about Jordan that it does show, that a lot of people see the greatness, but they don't know he came from humble beginnings. And what really made him, the work ethic, is from his parents. Seeing his parents both go to work, provide for their family and the brothers and sisters. And his brothers and sisters were very competitive, and he had to compete to get attention from his father, because his older brother was there and was there to get, next in line from what his father had going on. And all of this was a drive that made him who he was. Michael Jordan really held grudges, and it kind of drove him when he got cut in high school and wasn't able to make the team. His mom told him to work hard and use that as fuel, and the rest is history pretty much. And a lot of people take for granted a lot of things that Jordan did when he averaged the points he did or scored what he did. It wasn't even a 3-point line in college, if you look back. And this was not that long ago. This was just in the 80s. Maybe to some of you guys that are young, 20s or younger, that may seem like a long time ago, but that really wasn't. And Michael Jordan was a beast. They said that the only person that could hold him under 20 points was his coach. And so Michael Jordan, why he went number 3, they said, is because, for one, everybody, the NBA was played inside out. So if you were a big man with skills, you were pretty much going to go number 1. And even the Bulls said if they had the number 1 pick, they would have picked Olajuwon that year. And then the reason that Portland picked Sam Bowie is because they were building up their team. They just had Drexler, who was only a year or 2 older than Jordan, and Drexler was pretty similar to Jordan and brought pretty much the same type of game. So they felt if we get Sam Bowie, it would be in their minds like having Olajuwon Jordan combo, so to speak. And so what happened was the Bulls were lucky to get Jordan number 3 because the Olympics that year were played after the NBA draft, and everybody said after the Olympics were played that Michael Jordan was the number 1 player in the world. This is before he even played a single NBA game, and that was amazing. I didn't know that at the time, and that was something to see. That everybody, they had interviews of different people saying that. And so Michael Jordan, he was dunking. They showed highlights. He almost hit his head on the backboard. I mean, he sounded so different even back then. He sounded real country. He was so young, and so it was just something to see. It was really good to watch Michael Jordan, and it just really, this first episode, it focuses on his start. A lot of people think that Michael Jordan, when he talks about his rookie year and how he got to the Bulls and how he went to the hotel and some dudes was partying, that dudes had lines over here and then they had the weed over there or the girls over there, and he said he didn't want no part of that. He left and he was this or that. And so some people feel that he snitched and dimed them out because whoever was on that team, you can always look at his rookie year roster and see who on the team. And now people got to answer. Who were you part of? Were you with the Lions? Was you with the weed or the women? Which group was you in the hotel when Mike came? And so some people look at it as, he dimed them out or whatever. That should have been private. And some people look at it as, well, that's his perspective. He didn't name names. Some people could say, well, that's what he said, but I wasn't there. So I don't know. And even in the interviews, the person interviewing, because while they showing clips and things, they interview Jordan at his home, speaking with a little full glass, a tall glass, a little brown liquor. Looked like he's drinking on some Hennessy or, some Irk and Jerk. Nevertheless, he got some bloodshot eyes, big cigar, so Mike is feeling good during the interview. And they said, we heard that the Bulls' nickname during that time was the Bulls Cocaine Traveling Circus, and he bust up laughing really hard on that one. He said he never heard that comment or whatever the case. Anyway, it was interesting. Jordan, it just shows how he was pretty much still living like a college kid, still wet behind the ears, and a lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to do what he was able to do in the NBA because he wasn't 7 foot. And so from day one, He did all his talking from the court, and they said by his third game he exploded. And people got to realize that he averaged 28 points in the NBA. This is when it was more physical and things. His rookie year, 28 points without shooting threes, without driving to the lane, stealing fouls like James Harden. I mean, he took those points, and Michael Jordan, he did not hold back. He played every game like his last, and that's one thing that a lot of people loved in Chicago, because Chicago's a hard-working town, and everybody loves to see somebody that gives it his all. And from day one, he did, and he began to just own Chicago from then. Um, I love this documentary. It starts off great. Episode 1. If you haven't seen it, you're a sports fan, you definitely should see it. If you are a fan of drama and stories, it's worth it. It's not necessarily sports, because it's not showing the games and you gotta watch a game. It may show a highlight or two, but for the most part, it's the stories, and the stories are great. If you remember that time period, it will bring back memories and you'll enjoy it. If you haven't seen that time, if you weren't around during that time period, you need to watch it, because you need to understand some of the things that people were going through and went through during that time period that made it possible for today, and some of the things that people went through that'll never happen again. So, with that being said, check it out. I give it a 5-star review. And if you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? Check it out. The Last Dance, episode 1 on ESPN. I'm Jay. I want to thank you all for watching. Check out my next videos, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace, and I'm out.